speaking about the several items of each card, like let's say in the hermit, what the lamp means, what the cane means if he's using one, and the robe. And
Right.
I've never heard that kind of comparisons, and it was symbolically quite good.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay, so
See
we
if I
are
can-
now, Ghetto's here.
for the
Annabelle, you're probably talking, I think I had my Astro Seal glyph. Is that what you saw? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Meanwhile,
Astro Seal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ghetto, you're here. I thought you were not coming tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, true story. I want to sleep early, but I couldn't, and then I played a computer game, and it's a gigantic computer game in a science fiction world. And
Uh-huh.
half an hour ago, the computer game made me start collecting tarot cards.
Ah, it's a
So I thought,
message.
okay.
I support that game, whatever it is.
It's a message from beyond. Okay,
You
so
can't escape us. You can't escape us, Sarah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's
You,
what I
you,
thought.
you
yeah,
do
like-
know I
like-
used to be a coder, and I was working on your. I'm just kidding.
there's Art. Hi, Art. Good to see you tonight. We're doing as well as can be expected given my age. But anyway, we're not going to go into that in the recording. So so here we are, and we're tonight going to talk about the Queen of Cups as a starting point of what we have to do. And okay, I saw your message, Lisa. So anyway, let's go around the room and talk about what you think about the Queen of Cups. And we'll first do that, and then we'll just in general, and then we'll start showing cards. So who wants to start? It's not going to be Lisa because she's walking her dog. So
And you made her laugh
actually-
out loud. That's awesome. She's out walking. the dog.
Actually, you know, tonight it's a full moon in Scorpio, so
it's
it's
night.
the perfect card. Yes.
Yeah, it
Mm.
really is.
I'm
okay.
carrying some oils in the trees outside, and I left it till the full moon.
There's a
Tonight's the full moon.
there
I-
is there's
Look at
supposed to be a
tomorrow.
pink full moon tonight. So
Oh,
Yes.
supposed to
So
be
the I'm remembering there's a card, the Queen of Cups. She's sitting on her throne with her earthly pleasures, and also the sledge passing by her feet, which is so the sun is in Taurus,
mhm.
which does represent the earthly pleasures, and the Scorpio moon does represent the sludge that's at her feet. So it's perfect,
Okay, I guess
in my
I
opinion. Timely,
guess-
very timely.
guess I better pull up a card here so that people can see what that is while you're talking about it. And I'll also see if I can get the pink full moon, because I got a wonderful picture of
Oh.
it today from
you know, in the north, they always like it towards late night, like 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning. They become orange all the time.
Mhm.
oh, is that right?
This is all the time. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
They're
atmosphere.
big. They're big and they're orange color.
Mhm. Okay, I'll share my screen for a minute, and that will give you. I'll emphasize the Rider-Waite Queen of Cups. Is that the one you're talking about, Lisa, or what one would you be talking about?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us again what you were seeing and what Scorpio is. In that
Oh, well,
context.
it's not just Scorpio, but the her values of earthly pleasures, the money on one side, and if you could see the it's like the dregs,
Mhm.
and she's got skeletons in her she's sitting on skeletons too. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. So the Scorpio moon is tonight in
Right.
California at
Okay.
8:32 p.m.
Okay.
And
Oh,
so wherever you are, so
we're in the opposite.
on the
thing.
East Coast, it's going to be 3 hours before, right?
11:32, right?
Yep.
So-
So I have a picture of it.
5:32.
I have a picture of the pink full moon. Here it is in London.
Oh,
That's from London earlier today, and see the pink corona around it. It's
Interesting.
really
Mm.
cool.
Interesting. Well, I'm wondering, because Venus is still under the sun's beams, as is Uranus and Mercury. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that has something to do with the pink hue.
I don't know. It's interesting question.
hmm.
Okay.
We always think of the Scorpio aspect of the cups as depth psychology, because Scorpio is the one that dives deep. It cannot not do so in order to feel felt, in order to feel what they're about. So since it is the opposite of Taurus, which is an earthly sign, then it somehow is connected to Saturn, in as much as that, although it's a water sign, it dives all the way to the very core of earth, the mud and everything else, in order to come out, to turn around and come back out like clean and pick
Yeah,
up
What's
what
of
it
it?
is.
I
What's
just
of it?
don't see where's the
Correlation?
where's the skeleton she's sitting on?
Yeah, I don't see a skeleton.
Oh, well, okay.
The
The
mummy
skeletons-
bandages? Is that? No.
It's not, it's not skeletons,
Uh-huh.
but there's darkness, her
Oh, yeah.
shadows
Yeah,
under
behi-
her throne.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
She
So
dives
also-
in the deep, in the depth.
What's of interest is that Mars is a couple days ago ingressed into Cancer, which is
Mhm.
ruled by the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and that's and also in Greek mythology, that Hermes had an affair with Aphrodite,
Yes.
and right.
Yes. Hermes.
Sorted.
Yeah.
Exactly. So just the timing of this card for tonight is curious. The timing is curious, and the timing is everything.
Yep.
Annabelle arranged that for us.
Right.
She's the master of the synchronicity.
Right.
Perfect. Okay,
I
I'm
Okay.
gonna continue my walk.
I like to
Yeah.
read a version of Lady of Love. It's called in the Cathar Tarot. I
Mhm.
consider Cathar Tarot an allegorical type of tarot deck,
Mhm.
meaning that it follows a storyline versus strictly using symbology in each card to be deciphered as a passage.
Mhm.
So I thought it was rather interesting, and it was revelatory. So it says, the Lady of Love can be seen as a seer and visionary, and also as a close friend and confidant. She is a truth speaker, which sometimes makes her a difficult companion, but her compassion and honesty make her a valuable ally to whom we can turn in times of crisis.
Mhm.
Empathic and supportive, she encourages honesty and the freedom to allow the emotions full reign in the search for truth. Reversed. Do you want the reverse?
Sure.
Okay, reversed. This can represent a difficult, even devious person, more likely to lead you astray than help or counsel you, whose emotional wildness can be a destabilizing influence. So then there's the two that light, an honest woman, a good and loyal friend, good nature, wise and devoted, truth sayer. I like that one. Truth sayer. Balanced, emotional expression, feeling and wisdom in balance, humanity. And the dark would be the opposite that I just mentioned.
So it's Gilda the Good Witch versus Eveline.
Eveline, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We were talking about that the other day.
Right.
So Raquel, you want to give us your top of the mind thoughts about the Queen of Cups?
I think there's I already talked a lot about her in a few episodes ago.
Okay, if we can,
It was in the Mythic Tarot is the Helen of Troy archetype, and I think it's about. I always say it's about freedom of love and freedom in expressing love, because a woman that carries the that type of archetype is always like really condemned about the way that she carries her love and the way she carries her relationships. And Helen of Troy is the type of woman that always followed her heart. And she not only was judged about it, she also created a lot of wars and destruction and deaths while doing it. So, and she was unapologetic about it. So it's the strength and the freedom that you have when you allow yourself to just follow your heart, but that will come with a cost. And I think that also is really tied to the idea of the Scorpion moon, because having a Scorpion moon also gives that to a person, you know.
Yeah, so it's like she wears her heart on her sleeve.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
but not in a classical way, because it's all about indulging her own feelings, you know, like because for a woman, you are not allowed to do that in the most honest and truthful way. We're going to always have some boundaries and some restrictions, and she just crossed all of that, you know. Lisa
So
said
she's pretty much a female Dionysus or female Bacchus. Is that?
I mean, that's one aspect, but
No.
it's hardly the whole coloration.
yeah.
That's an aspect. Because also the truth sayer part that I just read is really because she's following her heart, she can bring forth things that others cringed at speaking about.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that she's using it for destruction or anything. So that you know, there's the whole spectrum of who wants to hear the truth and what's the cost of telling.
Yeah.
And Lisa said in the comments that it's about living in the moment, and I think that it's also a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really strong observation.
Yeah. Okay, Annabelle, do you want to say anything about this to begin with?
There were comments made about digging deeper. So that's something. Also, before I say something about that, I just wanted to say, and I think I've mentioned it in this group, that I'm in a moon circle. And we started in 1998. There are 12 of us, and we meet absolutely every single moon. The only reason I couldn't be there tonight is because we're not on Zoom, which we have been for, most of the last year. And I had an appointment this morning that was difficult to change. So the appointment this morning is the digging deeper. I don't remember if last week I mentioned the term undercarriage.
Mm-mm.
Did I?
Not that I recall.
Not that I recall either.
So this morning I had the first half of a root canal. So this undercarriage, right, is being dug deep in there and kind of rebuilt. And it was interesting because the man who was going to do it, whom I never met before this morning, he asked me, have you had pain? Have you had a problem? Have you had, some indication you needed this? I said, no, but my dentist told me I did. So that somehow connected with some dreams of the last week, which I think must have something to do with tonight, of this idea of fixing things because they need to be fixed, but the indications aren't always like evidentiary in the way we would expect. And then the other undercarriage is that my car hit a pothole a week ago Saturday, and the undercarriage is being rebuilt this week.
Oh, gee.
To the tune of about $8,000, which was quite astounding.
Yeah.
Insurance is covering pretty much all of it. So this undercarriage thing is a very, it's just very, and I can't help. So I look at the card, I see her on that chair. I loved the image of the skeletons, even though or the skulls or whatever they were, even though I didn't see them. Some of the terminology, particularly about the car, although some of the terminology is exactly the same, car and mouth, but there's cradle, there's struts, there's there's all this sort of thing. And then the other piece of it is that I read Secret of the Golden Flower, Richard Wilhelm's translation with Carl Jung's introduction many decades ago.
Yeah.
But for a variety of reasons, and some of it is because of this returning to the idea of the significance of the I Ching in relation to some of these archetypes, which has come up the last few weeks. It's Wilhelm's translation of the I Ching that's my favorite. I've read many, just cover to cover, and use them also. And but reading this Jung introduction, pretty much everything I just mentioned, right? Undercarriage, what needs to be fixed, what doesn't need to be fixed, how you experience that, what holds us up, the chair of the Queen of Cups, the Scorpio moon things that we're talking about. Anyway, all of that seems to have been in that introduction that I've been really diving into again the last few nights. So that's my little Queen of Cups for the moment.
Well, Lisa made a comment about your observations there and your experience, Annabelle, about it's very scorpionic that it's excavation. There's a lot of that. And when you mentioned struts and the undercarriage, I saw earth movers, these struts and mechanical things digging. So it's interesting with the root canal and the undercarriage of your car together as an image.
Yeah, actually another connection to the dream and to some of the Jung is bloodless and painless. So far, I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I mean,
nothing like it, but
tiramisu, all day kind of things. I'm having mango lassi here. It's like, I'm being careful. I'm doing the mega ibuprofen that the endodontist told me to do, which the drugstore was horrified. What, you're going to take that much? And they said, oh, it's for your mouth. Oh, fine, take as much as you want.
So how much are they having you take?
600 milligrams at a time every few hours.
Yeah.
So the big ones.
Yeah, they're big. They're really pretty. Want to see them?
Yes, someone handed me those when I broke my knee and folded it in half. And
No, it's
like, oh, okay, I think I will.
you see.
Oh,
what
yeah.
Wow. So they're not red.
gemstone
Oh,
that
wow.
is?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
they look
the
like
one-
emeralds.
What a
Goodness.
I was gonna say,
magical
it's a
thing.
little emerald.
Yeah.
That's a little, oh, that's an eye emerald tablet.
It's
Yeah.
a gem.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
it's absolutely, it's a magic bean.
It is
It looks like
magic.
a emerald tablet by Apple. It's an
Yeah.
eye tablet.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just ruining the fact that I'm off ibuprofen until next week because I have surgery on Friday. So I'm not allowed to have ibuprofen because it doesn't allow your blood to clot.
Right.
Anyway,
Well, I'm glad your surgery is not on the full moon.
well, it's pretty close.
You'll be
Yes,
out
you-
of orb by then.
yeah.
though.
Surgery, right? Surgery.
Yeah, it's laser surgery. Anyway, Jordan.
Where I'll lead into the Queen of Cups is with the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the Oracle at Delphi, and above the door, know thyself, and then extend that into further history where know thyself and you will know the universe. And what I had written in my book is that the wisdom of the ages lives in your emotions. Just because you have them, they're legitimate. Now, what you express with them is a whole nother thing. But to me, that inner cup, the almost magician's cup of the night sky of the inner world, as it were, is that know thyself piece. And I find that to just in terms of our discussion here, to add the know thyself piece of the Queen of Cups, of the inner world, and everything we need, we already have to an extent inside
Jordan,
with the
can
Queen
I-
of Cups.
Jordan, can
Yeah.
I interrupt you just to say that the model of my car is inscription, and you just spoke about the inscription.
Inscription.
It says it right
That's even
on
better.
the car.
Yeah, she does. She does look a bit like the Pythia. I must say, the Pythia was the
That's wow, Annabelle. That's
yeah.
wow.
So, Giro, do you want to say anything about the Queen of Cups, just briefly?
Not for now. Not for now.
Not for
No,
now. And
no,
Blake,
no.
do you want to say anything?
Distracted with the root canals and the cats.
Yeah, your cat's really moving.
No, my reaction, Annabelle, was just one of these days you're going to be afraid to come to this group. There's so much synchronicity with your actual life, and you're going to say, "Whoa, I don't want to be around that card tonight."
That's
I'll share that for me, the Queen of Cups, besides since she does represent an aspect of emotions and heart, that when and since it is so popular now to lead with your heart or to integrate your heart, it does carry one of the highest of the cards positions of heart-centered felt authority, because she is also elevated already with certain kind of wisdom. And that's why when I read that piece about being a truth sayer, although it's coming from an emotional, not regimented by logic and rules, and sometimes therefore it's seen as too much or so on, it's nevertheless is a definite star when it comes to invoking heart-centered compassion and all that kind of thing.
Terrific. Okay.
and Skip, I sent you a picture just for so you know it's there of the Golden Tarot, Queen of Cups, and by Cat Black, and then the Tarot and the Lennon Mysterium. Not to to show now, but just so you know that's there if you need it for Q.
Okay. All right. You sent it on email.
Yeah, I sent an email.
Okay. All right.
I can
I'll
just
check
share
that
the
out.
screen either way. So
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, you want to pull it up? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I have to make you co-host in order to do that. Okay, that should do it.
Cool. Oop, hold on. It'll
Oh,
take
wait a
me-
minute.
Is that
wait,
from the
wait.
Golden Tarot or?
Yeah,
from
by
which-
Cat Black with the
Mhm. Right, she has two. She has another one called something else.
and I hadn't noticed the contrast between her image and mine at all as being so marked. It's
Go ahead.
Put up yours too.
there we go. And so Cat Black's Golden Tarot is on the left, and I believe it's two doves in the wicker basket on the left. There's a I think a 4-footed chalice, which is, I think, important. The 4 directions, 4 winds, and this either transparent vessel or glass vessel on the right. There's a story of vesseling, and the scorpion is just right in between. But there's this visual story of vesseling across the bottom, which I find might be nice to get people's thoughts on that. And then she has a book. So there's a Sophia piece, a wisdom piece, and I believe it's a feather pen rather than a knife. So I think it's the writing.
Is
I
that
believe.
a Scorpio? Is that a little Scorpio on the
Yeah,
shadow
scorpion. Yeah, the black scorpion right off to the right of the wicker basket at the bottom left.
Mhm. Mm.
And then there's kind of a scaraby quality to the background, but I'll stop with that because it's a little abstract. But
Okay.
and then
So-
over at the Tarot de Lana Mysterium is very celebratory.
Mhm.
This is open, open
Exactly.
from your heart. This is emanate, even the blood that's coming from her hands in the orange. So I didn't realize it until I just put the camera over the contrast of the visual gesture of these two images is big. I mean, that they're telling two different stories in a way, or the same story in a completely different way. So, I mean, thoughts on Cat Black's Golden Tarot?
Yeah, I'll say about that one that in some of the older decks, because of and that comes from probably a painting or something, that writing and book and writing was the highest combination of evolution available to the people at the time. So you even see it on the high priestess with the book, because I also see other high priestesses and there's no book, and that they're piping in. So the fact that she has it, it's that item is being used according to the age in which she came from, as the way to evolve through whatever she represents. The book and the feather to write with was the way to evolve at that time. So the cup on the emotions are not necessarily foregrounded here. What is foregrounded is the ability to use language as a carrier instead of a chalice. Like when I look at Jordan's, he's in the chalice is bursting with energy and openness, and is available to channel whatever it is that's coming from the ethers. So I like that. It's a big difference. It's a difference. So it speaks about a different age in which the image was created.
That's a wonderful observation.
Yeah. So here's a series of chats from Patrick Hollywood, who says, y'all, I just took a ride around the park and 2 geese flew by, then came back, gliding 2 feet above the river, making a figure 8. Also saw a red-tailed eagle right before that. These are huge messages, had to share. And I know, and these two, and I said symbols of the infinite universe. And he said, I know, and these 2 geese have been a mystic symbol for me for a long time. So they made it obvious. very blessed. Yeah.
And if you have
that's
Ted
cool.
Andrews' Animal Speak, he has really, really wonderful writings about those as totems.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fabulous. We have those books.
And Shiro is having a Queen of Cups stare down with the big cup cat. that was intense. That was very Queen of Cups right there, man. That's
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give us this Queen of Cups once more on the share screen, and I'm going to read Rachel Pollack's piece about it first, and then we'll come back and talk about that. But anyway, this is the Queen of Cups from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and one thing I wanted to mention about the Golden Tarot Queen that you had up, Jordan, was that she was looking inward, not outward. And this Queen is also doing that.
right.
And what has always fascinated me is artists who can capture the inward looking and the outward looking. And there's a famous, one of the first paintings of Jesus, which is actually from the 5th century. It's called Sinai Jesus, I believe it is. And in that painting, they've captured Christ looking both inward and outward.
That's a really good point, because even with Joseph Campbell, the eyes being the inroads to the spirit or to the soul, and then when it is a two-way street, connecting within and about at the same time, there's a numinous experience indicated, a higher level of consciousness. That's a really, really good point.
Right. Okay. So now I'm reading from Rachel Pollack's book, and I'm reading from the 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. The most successful and balanced of the cups. In some ways, all of the minor cards. The Queen is almost a mundane version of the world dancer, coming between the outer responsibility of the king and the passiveness of the knight. She shows the possibility of blending imagination and action, creativity and social usefulness. Her throne, decorated with cherubic mermaids, sits on land, indicating her vital connection to the outer world and to other people, a connection more real than the king's. At the same time, the water flows over her feet and merges with her dress, signifying the unity of self with emotion and imagination. The water suggests also unconscious forces, the underlying spiritual patterns shown in the major arcana, nourishing conscious life. The unity of water, land, and the Queen implies that we do not feed the imagination by giving it complete freedom to wander where it will, but rather by directing it into valuable activity, an idea that most artists would endorse. This idea appears even more strongly in the 9 of Pentacles, emblem of creative discipline. Waite describes the cup she holds as her own creation. It is the most elaborate of the cups, whatever we may think about its style, and symbolizes the achievement brought about through using the imagination. Notice its church-like shape. Until the modern age, and still in more archaic cultures, all art expressed and glorified spiritual experience. The Queen stares at the cup intently, showing the strong will that directs and molds creative force without suppressing it. At the same time, her look suggests that the creative person derives inspiration for future activity from her or his past achievements. Compare her fierce gaze with the dreaminess of the night or the cloudy fantasies of the 7. Willpower alone will not unite imagination and action. Only love can give meaning to her actions and realize her goals. These goals are not simply creative in the narrow sense of art, but in the wider sense of making something whole and alive out of the opportunities and elements given by life. They can include emotional goals, especially family. For while the king symbolizes society, the queen symbolizes the family for men as well as women. What is most important is that she joins consciousness to feeling. She knows what she wants and will take the steps necessary to get it. Yet she acts always with awareness of love. Waite says loving intelligence and hence the gift of vision, terms suggesting that a vision of life is joyful can only come as a gift, but love can open us to receiving such a gift, to recognizing that it exists. With intelligence joined to love, we return the gift by taking that vision and making something real and lasting from it. And then reversing the Queen of Cups breaks that unity of vision and action. We see someone ambitious and powerful yet dangerous because she cannot be trusted. The love has become lost, and with it the commitment to values greater than her own success. If she slides further from the balance, she can become dishonorable, even depraved, as her creative forces lurches out of control. Okay.
Was that the right side up?
That was the last paragraph was the upside down. The
Okay,
reverse.
because okay.
Yeah, and I'm not terribly happy with this discussion, actually, because I think that there's more to the deep part, the depth psychology that isn't quite appreciated here.
Right.
Well, and she didn't mention the cup and the two shadow figures on the handles. And to me, there's a coupling of the dark or the thonic, the depthful piece that you actually grip or grasp on her cup, and her cup is closed. So it's true vessel of the psyche, almost like a cranium or a skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation. And whereas in Jordan's, the cup is open. So he actually has embodied the function of coming from the in out. Whereas in this Rider-Waite, she's a human embodiment looking for ways of entering into something that's rather closed.
Yeah.
It's interesting too that evolved or devolved scorpion one way or the other to the crab, because if on the Rider-Waite, if you look behind her, it doesn't feel like a shade or a shadow. It feels like that's an entry portal into depth or darkness, as if that's an architectural entry into a cave behind her. It doesn't feel like the back of her throne is solid. It feels like it goes completely into the infinity of darkness.
So she's sitting in the threshold of
she is herself the liminal horizon.
Right.
Yeah.
And the angels, those dark angels on the cup which go like this, are actually the shape of what the Egyptians used to use like to kill, like I forget what it's called, but you grab it at the handle and it has exactly that shape and that size and the whole thing. And so that could be the poisoned or the way to cut in through the depth that you need to, how you need to arrive at depths of things.
Right.
It has that shape. It's got a name, that sickle thing.
Scythe?
Yeah, something like that. Because I have in the Ramses, you can see it all over the place. They use it instead of a sword, they use that shape because that's what they used to use. So maybe they had some, because it has that exact shape then that's something to ponder upon. But can we see more images or?
Yeah, I'm going to show you one right now. Just a second. Getting to the right point on my desktop. I'm going to show you the Thoth Queen of Cups, who's
right, yeah,
quite dramatic.
And Giro made a great comment that those two angels, the dark angels, may look like temple initiation guardians in that card. Just to drop that point into Rider-Waite to then move into your Thoth here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just not that clear. It's not
Right.
that clear.
So let me read the it's weird. Okay, let me read about the Queen of Cups in the Thoth deck. So this is from Aleister Crowley's book, The Book of Thoth. The Queen of Cups represents the watery part of water, its power of reception and reflection. In the zodiac, it rules from the 21st degree of Gemini to the 20th degree of Cancer. Her image is of extreme purity and beauty with infinite subtlety. To see the truth of her is hardly possible, for she reflects the nature of the observer in great perfection. She is represented as enthroned upon still water. In her hand, she bears a shell-like cup from which issues a crayfish, and she bears also the lotus of Isis, of the Great Mother. She is robbed in and veiled by endless curves of light, and the sea upon which she is enthroned conveys the almost unbroken images of the image which she represents. The characteristics associated with this card are principally dreaminess, illusion, and tranquility. She is a perfect agent and patient, able to receive and transmit everything without herself being affected thereby. If ill-dignified, all these qualities are degraded. Everything that passes through her is refracted and distorted. But speaking generally, her characteristics depend mostly upon the influences which affect her. In the Yi King, the watery part of the water is represented by the 58th hexagram Tui. Okay. The commentary is as colorless as the card. It consists of mild exhortations on the subject of pleasure. It may really be said that normally people of this type have no character at all of their own, unless it can be called a characteristic to be at the disposition of every impact or impression. There is, however, a hint, line 6, that the chief pleasure of people of this type is to lead and attract others. Such are accordingly exceedingly popular. So that's what he says about this. I don't know. I kind of take it as a bunch of mumbo jumbo here, but
I felt it minimized the card too much. I felt that was kind of derogatory and very, honestly, I have to say, a very prudish way. But the ibis really strikes me because ibis eyes are a magician's gesture in temple magic, where the ibis sees beyond worlds, because the refraction was mentioned in that text, but the ibis will see the fish and strike. And of course, where you see the fish is not actually where it is because of the refraction.
right.
And they will see it, but they will strike and actually get it at the alternate location. So the ability to transliterate across worlds and live in two worlds is very important, which is like the crab. At least a very, importantly said, the scorpion is a whole different symbol than the crab. And I didn't mean astrologically, just the movement between two worlds. So I appreciate her correction.
Well, I like the fact that the crane has the one leg is up, poised, ready to strike. So in that way, that kind of also shows that there's that something is caught. and then revealed.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think it's actually an ibis. The beak has a longer, slender. I mean, I don't want to get into
And
semantics about.
ibis don't use their paw being like this doesn't mean anything.
No, they do, and
I mean,
both of cranes do too. And what that symbol is you have a foot on both sides, a foot in both worlds. One in the underworld at the bottom under the water, and one in the air up here. So that's a foot on both sides,
The
literally.
balancing. So she's
The
balancing.
balance, right?
She's
So they
not
can
using
see
it
both
to-
worlds.
to strike.
Yeah.
Right.
I was married to the Queen of Cups once. What wasn't a good thing. And because
I'm going to
go ahead.
bring my book. I remember another version of you reading from the book of Thoth, right?
I was reading from it, yeah.
Yeah, I have another version. Let me grab it and see. It says just slightly different, has slightly different view about it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's look at the other two cards that are on this layout that I have, and then maybe we can also get into the kings tonight. That would be good. And so, all right, so that's the Thoth deck. This is the Golden Dawn deck. So anybody here again, we have the ibis and the crab coming out of the cup. And water at her feet, and the lotus in her hand. I guess that's what that is, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm not wild about this Golden Dawn deck, I have to say, but it's supposed to be one of the most, I don't know, unique ones. You got a word for it, Jordan?
On this, I have to agree with you, because to me, I have to say that the gesture falls flat.
Yeah.
Cat Black's Golden Tarot was static, movement, not moving at all. More iconic Russian art, not moving, but I didn't consider it to be flat. I find that image it has some symbols, but I feel like someone's diagramming a sentence, but they haven't spoken it. It feels to be this is what I'm going to do diagram. I don't, this one especially to me, artistically, from a symbolic gesture point of view and just visual language grammar, falls flat.
Yeah. Yeah. From an artwork point of view, I'm not.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not thrilled with it. Okay, and so here's the Marseille deck. This is a bit more evocative. And so this is one of the first two decks to emerge in the 15th century. And we're still talking about the Queen of Cups 600 years later. So it's non-trivial that fact is true, because it means that we're talking about archetypal energies. And here again, I like the presentation of the eyes, because she's looking inward. I'm a little troubled by the frown. let's just look. Well, she's frowning too. Let's see. She's not frowning, but she's not smiling.
So I have here a rendition of the Queen of Cups from the Gerd Zeidler Tarot, Mirror of the Soul, for the Crowley. And it says the Queen's form is enclosed in light beams. You see, I was going to mention that those light beams are important.
Oh yeah.
So you only see her if you look closely. Her being cannot be understood intellectually. You must feel and sense it. She's shrouded in mystery, and if you wish to comprehend this mystery, you will have to go deeply into the realm of sensitivity and feeling. The calm sea in which she rests mirrors her image almost perfectly. What she radiates outwardly is reflected in, or is a reflection of, the deepest emotional reaches of her being. She is in contact with her feelings and shows them openly and authentically. The people around her may not always understand her, but that is not a problem for her. She will not compromise emotionally, for in order to do so, she would have to deny herself and might lose the glow of her beauty in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
The white lotus blossoms on the lake, and in her hand, like these things are hard to see, symbolize love of a giving nature. Lotus roots come out of the dark, muddy depths of the water, but the leaves and petals of the lotus remain untouched by the mud and water. Water rolls off the petals and rests on them as beads of water. They remain connected to the water and mud growing from them, but are different and separate. Blossoming love, too, grows from the unconscious realms of instinct and drive, and it is fed by it. That's really important. Like blossoming love, too, grows from unconscious realms, Jung right here, of instinct and drive, and it is fed by it. The light of consciousness causes unconscious energies to arise in new form. The old appears in a new light. It is transfigured, and emotional rebirth has taken place. The stork, messenger of the returning spring, is harbinger of the new. The card can be seen as having some connection with motherhood. See also Princess of Discs and the Empress. The lotus of the Queen's hand is also the lotus of Isis, the Great Mother. Cancer, the crab, in the shell-shaped cup also indicates the domestic realm of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you a very different take.
Interesting. The Lady of the Lake is holding up a cup from the lake, or in the lake, within the lake. Do you see that right here? This is an arm holding a cup.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's what they were saying. Yeah, it's bringing new life into from out of the unconscious.
Yep.
Through the emotional waters.
She's got a whole retail shop down there. There's Excalibur, there's that goblet, the Grail.
Yes, she does. And to be honest, I can't even see where she is. Where is she?
Well, here's her face right here.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah,
Right.
but in the reflection, you can see her. The water is not clear enough. It's like, I think that to me, the problem with the Golden Dawn card that's the other side is that it's just too obvious, like everything is displayed.
Right.
The Thoth deck, the Rider-Waite, and the Marseille, you have to discover something, because all of the cards, like in the Thoth deck, you have to get closer to the image so you can see what it's about. Mm-hmm. And in the Rider-Waite and the Marseille, the cup is closed. So it also indicates that you have to do something to get closer to that archetype or that persona, because it's not going to be easy for you to figure it out what it is about, because there's something that is like hidden and unique, I think.
Well, and there's something dark in the Rider-Waite in the sense of these dark angels.
Yeah.
But I don't know what those are, but I guess it's dark angels.
Actually, if you unite those two, if you pick them off and put them together, you're going to get the Egyptian image of then the outspread eagle wings, one either side, with one half of each body. Now they're facing the cup, I gather, but if I look at it two-dimensionally, it is a kind of a split of the right and the left sides of the one being on either side of the cup that are then united in the contained vessel in the middle. It is a possibility. That just kind of struck me.
Yeah. One other thing that strikes me about this Marseille card is that she seems to be a bit of a deer in the headlights. And
Yeah.
right.
And tentative, even like she's kind of,
Right.
you're gonna take I don't know.
And,
Like
it,
it's
and it
stinky
looks like
almost.
she's got a hand around her throat, ready to strangle her.
Yeah, she doesn't seem comfortable at all, and she's also holding a knife in her, a sword in her hand. So her emotional trajectory is a bit sketchy there.
Yeah.
I wonder with the knife, the sword, though, if that's about to pronounce knighthood. Like, I'm going to give you the cup of your wholeness in the kingdom. Here, I knight thee shoulder to shoulder.
No. I can tell you that when I was married with the Queen of Cups, that
knife is
very painful.
Yeah. Slice you at the altar, right? Yeah. I got it. No.
Slice your head off, right?
Well, and her face, her eyes, you're right. Her eyes look like her body might be jaundiced. There's a hypothalamus kind of, they're too big, they're too open, they're not in proportion with her head, and there's a sickness almost in the image. I mean, I'm no MD, but
I think in the Marseille, I think that Jodorowsky made a study about the colors that are displayed, and I think that is like very important as well. I mean, in her body, just the color of blue, green, and yellow. And blue, I think it means knowledge, but in a sense of receiving knowledge, very in a passive way. The green is getting the knowledge, like through study and reading, or maybe writing. I don't remember as well what it is. The gold, or the yellow. I don't recall it now. But the red, that's like maybe, I don't know, what is this, a jacket or a part of her gown that it's like. It means that the action is the last thing in her body, like because red in the Jodorowsky interpretation means action, doing stuff. So it's the last thing that she will do, it's the redness. But it also has a red part in her crown, so she will do it anyway.
Well, she's got red in the cup, red in her sleeve. She has, see how she has red in the sleeve that's holding the cup, and she doesn't have that red in the other arm, right next to the hand at the end of the sleeve.
Yeah.
In the
right
Thoth,
here.
in the Thoth and Aleister Crowley and all of that, they have a whole thing on the number, on the colors. So the colors indicate they're part of the dynamic, the lines of dynamic that move the symbolism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eva Ryder likes the Thoth deck the best. She reads with it most often, but it strikes me that I would need a long time to study this deck in order to be able to use it.
Right, because it's symbolic. Each card has a whole narrative of symbolism. So unless one is familiar with the symbolisms, their trajectory, where they came from and where they could go, then that's what gives the richness of the image, something to ponder upon.
Yeah. Okay. Here's
so
what I suggest
it's not a deck for beginners.
Here's what I suggest we do. It being 9 o'clock, let's try to move on to the kings, and that way we can finish up with these 4 basic decks tonight. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I beg your pardon. And then we can do the She-Wolf and the Starman Tarot for these cards next week. And so we don't also belabor one card over another necessarily.
Right.
Right. So let me go back to the basic Rider-Waite again here. And so who wants to start talking about that?
Go, Jordan.
Oh, I'm looking for a card. Would
All
one
right,
of you
well,
please go?
why don't I go?
But, thank you.
It seems
Rachel.
like he has a necklace that is a fish hanging. Is that a fish hanging as a necklace?
Yes.
Yes.
And now, as differentiating from the queen, his backrest is solid. It's already there, almost like a conch shell or something. Whereas
Yep.
the queen was dark and allowed some penetration to take place out of the unconscious. The king is already planted right in the middle, ready to give it form. He stands on a platform that's a square that's already formed, solidly formed, right on top of the mayhem of emotional displays. So, and he's not looking at the cup, he's looking straight out. That means that he's ready to address where the whatever has come up meets, it's challenge. So he's already engaging with possibilities and not diving deep. He's already had his he's got the fish already chained to his neck.
So this is the Lothario, is it?
What? I got the call from Skip. What?
Is it the Lothario?
Lothario.
He's caught the fish and he's
well, meaning that he's already fished it out of the depth, so he's
Right.
ready to put it into action. He's ready to
Right.
bring it into manifestation. Let's
Right,
put it
right.
that way. Whereas the queen is still the one that has one foot, her back to the cosmos, and she's still busy giving life to that world. He's already experienced that world and created some solid foundations in order to make it go to the next point, the next furthering step, which is solid. That's why his platform where his feet rest is solid. Hers was full of little pebbles where water could come right into it. And his throne is completely there, but it's arched. It has some leadway, some arching. He's able to, his flexibility is available, but he's solidly there, ready to face how to manifest the creativity.
Yeah. Okay. Others?
I'd say too, what I find most interesting are three key pieces. Is in his masculine right hand on the left of the card is the feminine receptive cup, and in the left hand on the right side of the card is the omphalos, or a scepter wand that looks like a column from the Temple of Luxor with a lotus leaf tops and a bud. And that would indicate to me that both sides, masculine and feminine, have both self-integrated and are connected in that golden fish. And the third piece is that his toes off of this cornerstone or platform in the ocean that his throne is, he is his own archipelago. His toes are over the edge. So there's a nod to the ability to see beyond, to those toes to see the unconscious. So it feels like to me in all the cards of the cups that this king has now integrated all of the previous messaging of the story into that 1, 2, 3 gesture of the right hand, left hand, cup and scepter wand, and then the foot that still makes a nod to the ability to see beyond.
It's also curious that on the out of the water there seems to be a fish or some kind of animal there rising, and
Mhm.
then a ship in the back. Those two items, and he's still in command. He's not concerned that the fish is going to override him or the feet is going to take over. He's directing his gaze directly at the manifestation that's facing him and feeling rather centered and empowered on both sides, meaning he's empowered emotionally, he's empowered physically.
Yeah.
And the reptile eyes. I mean, that's laser focus eyes. Those are laser focus eyes. Lisa made a comment kind of in jest of those cupcakes on his crown. And I actually take that seriously too, that it lends a little bit of levity, that he means business, but he's pretty full of life. He may have a couple of jokes up his sleeve. I mean, the experience has got to be just breathtaking.
Yeah.
I think also that his shoes are like scales, like he's becoming a fish.
Nice.
As well.
Oh, that's a great point, because the transformation.
What is the meaning of he's becoming a fish, Raquel?
I think that because we have this idea that fish and like the sea are correlated to abundance as well. So he's not only communicating feelings and emotions, but he's also a platform for an abundant life, because kind of like one thing comes with another. When you are able to express your feelings and to live fully them, you're also going to be experiencing a lot of abundance in your life. Maybe not abundance as we perceive it right now, but nonetheless, I think.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes,
Actually,
in Latin America, the fish are used a lot in designs of abundance.
I'd also say structure without stricture, because if you look at the gold cloak covering the left column of the throne, and then you see the architectural stone column on the right of the card. So one of the pieces of the structure of the throne is actually concealed. So there's a mysterious or a mystery point too, which I think speaks to what Raquel was saying with, it looks like scales in the feet, which is where he touches transforms. But if you see, you don't see the throne on the left side, but then you see this column with kind of a Temple of Luxor at Karnak looking column capital, and then an actual oceanic looking column base. Look at the waves. It's not Doric, Ionic, or Corinthian. There's an architectural piece that actually is kind of unprecedented. It's like made up just to look like waves at the base.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking about like if you would see the King of Cups in contrast with the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles creates abundance because he has the talent to create. It's about earth. But I think the King of Cups, he is the abundance. That's why his feet is scales. He's becoming the fish. He's becoming the abundance itself, So it's kind of like a different thing, because he lives like, I think that the King of Cups leaves an idea, a personification of abundance that comes through emotions, while the King of Pentacles only gets the abundance by creating something, by working with his hands. The King of Cups is working with his heart, solely with his heart.
I like that point where he has become the abundance itself. I hadn't thought about that. Really goes to a higher level, to take it as the general level of what is the absolute higher meaning of the card. That's really strong.
Right. Meanwhile, Justin made a point which I agree with a bit, which is it's also a symbol of Jesus Christ. And Lilith is traditionally depicted holding a symbol of a scale in each hand. But what I was thinking is, don't you think the feet could be scale-like or snake-like or lizard-like?
I
Maybe.
was thinking the feet looked like newts or salamanders or some other kind of little reptile that goes in and out of the water, like back and forth between water and land.
Mhm.
Yeah. that
And
makes
what's
sense.
interesting is, yeah, Lisa just said reptilian, and even chainmail would be an abstraction of that scaling.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that part of the coloration is also very obvious. He's dressed in blue completely, yet he has a cloak of yellow. And then he still has the red outlining it very carefully. It's in the ship, it's in his cloak, and it's on top of his head. So he's very complete. He's in touch with just about all different aspects. And I also like
Of his emotion.
right, but he's in touch with action. He's
Well-
in touch with logic. He's in touch with all of it because he's carrying all of it. And I also like the fact that the platform where he's standing versus the queen, which is all these round little pebbles. He's above the water in a linear. It's very linear, and then you even got lines going down, and then you have the waves. So he embodies the manifestation of creation as it stands on the base of the unconscious, of emotions, of using or of bringing forth the creative aspect that we carry in the heart center, the emotions, because the heart center, his fish is right over his heart.
Mm.
Not to be too like facetious, but I will. I've never seen this before, but the throne behind his head. I've never seen him as a preppy king before, but that's quite a pop collar.
Yeah.
What, the throne?
I mean, the throne. It's like this.
Well, it's like in the shape of some shell. Shells all have that roundness to them. The kind of arching. So that's where. So it looks like a shell.
Is that an actual like squid head? I mean, I just noticed the white on the left, like there's an eye. There's like a scuttlebone, like a scuttlebone of the whole back of the gray throne. Not the shape we see as squid, but the scuttlebone inside. It looks like maybe going too far there, but but that's my job. So
Yeah. If it helps something someone in a reading journal, I'm all for it.
yeah, not here. I know. I
right.
just noticed that it just seemed to be a corresponding shape. Raquel, that's hilarious.
I'll read you the version of the Knight of Cups of the Thoth.
Yeah.
You ready?
Right. So they have the knight rather than the King of Cups, which
right.
I don't
So
know.
the knight,
that idea.
And the knight is riding on, so as a king, I guess he's a knight, right? They don't have any kings.
They don't have kings.
Right?
Yeah, the knight is a consort of the queen, and that I like it in that deck. That's just the system, but it's like the knight is the consort of the queen in that situation.
All right, so it goes like that. The Knight of Cups has large wings with which he soars on his powerful white horse. He wears green armor, and the cup in his outstretched right hand contains Cancer the crab. The water sign Cancer can refer to familial relationships, but here the idea of family must be enlarged to include also any chosen relationships, especially those with spiritual connections or spiritual communities. The pale blue wings of the spirit uplift emotional relationships to higher levels of exchange and mutual understanding. The peacock symbol of vanity has also been uplifted. He unfolds his beauty and offers it without haughtiness to the service of the higher. The green armor represents the knight's highly creative ability to give expression to his deep emotions. The gifts he gives are expressions of his striving towards more and more perfect forms of emotional interchange. Right. So indication, you yearn for intensive interchange with those of like mind and like outlook. So that was my point when the other one at the Rider-Waite deck has it more succinct in that he's looking straight out, and regardless of the ship behind or the strange animal on the side or whatever, he is connected to manifesting some sort of interchange between, and coming using all the depth of what he has found with meeting whatever can yield form.
Yeah. So your version of what Crowley wrote and my version just don't match at all. It's very interesting.
Isn't that? Yeah, I was in my research. I read somewhere that this version, which I've had for a while, is the one to use to actually unpack what's there.
I
That was
see.
the one they recommended that was more that allowed more penetration into.
What's the genesis of the second version or the two versions though? Why did he write it twice? Don't know.
No, I don't know. Oh, I've got 3.
Oh, you have another one.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's 3 versions.
Okay.
And this one was written in 1986. So first published in German by Urania.
Okay. And
So-
my version was when?
So it's pretty close to the time where all the tarot thing was going on.
1944, this one was.
Remember that I read somewhere that maybe he didn't see the deck published in his lifetime. Something like that.
Yeah, that may be.
Mhm.
So he didn't really write it all, is what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
We were very surprised because we, in the country where I come from, and in my family, all aunts all over the place, they were always one here or there who did the cards, and they used the Spanish cards, which have
Mhm.
knights, kings, joker, and all of that. So I grew up with thinking that cards that were read was something common. It's been around forever.
Mhm.
And when I look into it, I realized that is not so. It actually existed during France and all these places, but in the United States, it's really only started to be picked up during the 60s and 70s. And Crowley picked it up at the turn of the century, but it didn't, it stopped after the war and everything else. So, but yet in my country it was something that people did. So that was very interesting.
The tarot was something people did.
Yes, but they did it with the Spanish cards.
Ah, yes.
They read the Spanish cards
Mhm.
as form of divination. Yes, I had aunts that read the Spanish cards in form of divination, and they're very accurate.
Okay. So there's a couple more cards here that are on the screen. This is the Golden Dawn card, and here we've got a peacock that's a little bit more better painted, better painted, and
Right. So I've been researching. So you see the symbols keep showing up in different versions. The
Right.
peacock in the last one was over here, here. So here the peacock, he's wearing it in his heart. So it's Crowley used to tell his students to go and create a tarot deck. So that's why you find different versions of the of
Yeah,
the
and that,
Golden Dawn thing.
right. That's why the Bota deck is uncolored. Let's just see how this king is. Here's the Marseille king. He's just fat and happy.
He's not even paying attention to the cup he has in his hands.
Right, right.
He's actually posing,
Yeah. Yeah.
posing for the picture. But he has quite a hat. See, so the green is, it looks like wings there next to his crown.
Well, yeah. So he's got flights of fancy or something. He's
Well, I think Raquel mentioned about the green and the red and all of that. Yeah.
yeah.
The Golden Dawn definitely has these color-coded dynamics that go throughout the deck.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that the shape of his crown is supposed to relate to an 8 and an infinite symbol
On the Marseille, are you saying?
in the Marseille. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it relates to the figure
Well,
eight infinity.
Yeah, it also
sign.
looks like a cup, like a something that receives the cup, and then the yellow in the
Yeah.
center.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's just, and the color scheme can
Yeah.
symbolize that his action is coming from knowledge that he gets from society, and not exactly from God, because the color greens, that you receive knowledge from other men and from laws, and
Yeah.
color blue, you receive the knowledge from God or other entities.
Right. So Justin says he's relaxing after a hard day with his demanding wife. Yeah.
Well, you see the difference in cloak. The cloak the colors are reversed. This one is mostly red with an outline of yellow, and then in the Rider-Waite is yellow with an outline of red.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So whatever the color means, I'll research it. I know that there's definite, because there are new tarot people designing new tarot decks based on the Thoth, and they have really studied the stuff, and the colors are definitely a key dynamic that goes throughout the whole deck.
So Hannah says, I find it fascinating to associate
You're muted. Skip. You ended up muting yourself.
Unmute. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. So what was I looking at here?
You said
Somebody
Hannah
from
said,
Asia.
Oh, okay. So Hannah said, I find it fascinating to associate the white horse with the symbol of spirit, Pegasus, also the peacock, to Zeus and Hera. So here we have the king, the peacock, related to Zeus, I guess. And obviously he's a god because he has wings. And he has winged thoughts.
and isn't the grail in the third eye of the horse?
Yes, right. Yeah, that's right. Right here. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is a more mercurial type of king of cups. He's got wings on his helmet. He's got wings on the back, and he's above the water.
Yeah.
And Lisa makes a great point that she said Pegasus receptive, the masculine is a cloak, a facade. That's interesting because with the receptive quality of that king, it does feel a little masculine facade-ish.
Yeah. And these two don't have any wings, but these two guys have wings. So
yeah,
and that's that mercurial.
Yeah, the Thoth crowd of the Golden Dawn were busy breaking ground into uh, spiritual flights. So
Right.
a lot of them show that strength of rushing through into higher territories.
And
Okay.
the two hearts of the hooves, the lower left hooves. The
But
two
I also
hard,
like the horse in the Thoth is looking at us. It's looking back.
Yeah,
See
the
how-
horse
how-
looks back.
It's
Yeah.
looking back while he is busy moving. The horse is looking back. So, that there's a connection to the past or whatever, and then still moving forward.
the
And
reflection
Cancer
and
is a
action.
cardinal. Exactly. And but it's looking back. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, the reflection.
What does the Cancer symbol tell us here?
Well, Cancer is, out of the water signs, is the cardinal sign, is the action sign.
Uh-huh.
So,
So he's a man of action.
well, he looks like he's really moving. Yeah, he's going for it.
It
Okay.
is about action, but the Cancer sign also tells a lot of about family, about roots, about everything that is related to our structure, but in a more emotional based structure. It's not the structure that we're going to build, but it's where we came from.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
and I believe that's why the horse is looking back, because it reconnects the lineages of the family. It's not, everyone is not moving forward. He's moving forward, but he's riding on the family, the past. That's why the horse is looking back. I mean, why would a horse look back when you're going that way? So he's bringing in the
Yeah,
background.
but that also can be a little bit about, I think it's a little weird to perceive the Cancer movement, although it is a cardinal sign and it is about action. I think that the action of the sign of Cancer can be a little bit deceiving, because both of the cards there's crabs in it, and the crab doesn't move forward, it moves sideways. He goes to side. So that kind of gives the idea that is also embedded in the Cancer sign, that to move forward you have to stumble along a lot of ways. Like, it's not, those cards are very action based and moving forward. It's kind of like linear, but Cancer sign is not linear. That is the thing. You're gonna go sideways.
Mhm.
To move forward you have to like move side and go like this. It's a weird thing to be related to.
That's actually a really good point with the sideways motion, because then the crab can move between both worlds easily and lives in both worlds. But side to side, the crab basically always tracks the coastline wherever the water meets the sand, side to side.
Yeah.
So it's always connected in both places.
Yeah, it's always connected, but that is the thing. Moving forward in this archetype, it's not that, because that gives the impression of movement and action and being the conqueror of that future, because you're in the horse and you're a king, so you're moving forward. But Cancer sign does not move forward like that.
Yeah.
Would that be a perspective? Like, it's side to side, it's angling, it's getting different perspectives, but it's not moving back and forth.
Well, again, I say that the fact that the horse is looking back, what
Yeah.
horse do you ride that looks back instead of forward? So that
To
is
me-
telling you that his vehicle is related to looking back, family lineage, wherever it is that he comes from, is completely, he's riding it.
Yeah.
And the
I read
armor
like-
is very crab-like.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure
Sarah
it
wants
is.
to say something. Go.
I read like a little bit of irony into that. Like, it's the horse is breaking the fourth wall. It's like it's commenting on the king, of a knight and saying like, oh, he's a bit of a show off. Like you have the female energy, you know, and it's okay with Queen, you know, she has it figured out. She has the initiation. She has the deep connection, and then comes the king and goes, yeah, and look, behold, and it gets a bit silly by that.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. Hannah says, in ancient Gnosticism, the crab crayfish represented the scarab beetle with the sun returning at dawn. And of course, the scarab beetle was also important in Jungian psychology because it was the dung beetle. And the dung beetle, you know, eats dung.
And well, in Egyptian hieroglyphics, it is the top view of the skull with the three different. You get the sutures of the cracks in the skull with the two wings in the head.
Yeah. Okay. I'll
try to research the colors, but the fact that the crab is the only yellow thing in that whole thing, whatever the yellow
I think
means for the Thoth
Lisa
people.
mentioned it was air earlier in one of the comments, I think.
For the Thoth people.
For the yellow.
Yeah, but the Thoth have they have a specific golden dawn association with colors.
I might even see that in the Rider-Waite, like maybe it's a little bit of a side joke on the Pope with the fish and because all these cards they give me not this. I don't have the feeling of gravity and seriousness. Like they all seem a little bit like you guys said. It's a little bit fake.
That's a good point. As if it's a still life on a stage. Like there's a theatrical, dramaturgical kind of gig to it. That it's fake. It's for show rather than for real.
Yeah. Okay. Let me read what Isabel Radel Kligman says in the Tarot and the Tree of Life, Finding Everyday Wisdom in the Minor Arcana. Here's what she says, and she's referring specifically to this king. So the King of Cups is a very different kind of king. He sits on a stone throne that floats on a raging sea. The waters roll and roll. Two boats in the background look as if they're about to capsize, and a fish leaps out of the water. He seems unaware of the cup he holds, and the expression on his face seems to say, "Who, me?" This is a card of tremendous emotional intensity that is not being consciously processed. Yet, although he is in denial, his body language gives him away. Look at his feet. He looks as if he'd like to make a break for it if the slightest opportunity presents itself. He is not at all happy on his throne. Why? Because he is the king of feeling. He is the king of emotion. A king must shoulder his duty to all of his subjects in his entire kingdom, and emotions can conflict with responsibility. The King of Cups does not want for keen emotion. Does not want for a keen emotion. He is someone who has cut himself off from these feelings. Why? Because he doesn't believe that he can operate effectively and do what is expected of him if he allows himself to experience his feelings fully. Of course, he'd like to get away from such pressures and worries. He doesn't want the heavy responsibilities of kingship to weigh him down. He wants to be a knight again. Which is what he is in the other cards. He'd like to return to the stage of development where he's free to follow his heart and set out on his own personal quest. He has astutely been described as the king who would be man. I'm going to skip ahead because my voice is dying, but I'd like to read these last couple of paragraphs. The King of Cups turned up in a reading for a young woman in a way that revealed another of his faces, and a strong one. Her father, from the time of her earliest memories, had been in and out of hospital, for treatment of schizophrenia. She had known his behavior was erratic and strange from the time she was 4, but no explanation was ever offered her by her mother for his absences and his sometimes frightening reactions to situations. The little girl assumed responsibility for her father's treatment of her and for his obvious affliction. She felt it was her fault and hers to fix. Needless to say, she was unable to help him, and not surprisingly, her relationship with him became an unconscious prototype for her relationships with men in general. As a result, she was always involved with and sometimes surrounded by men who were mentally ill. She interpreted the card inner spread as keeping her head and remaining stable while surrounded by madness. The King of Cups is also one hell of a poker player. Each of us must cultivate a King of Cups mentality some of the time. If we are parents, there are things our children have the right to expect from us, no matter how we're feeling. Even when we fail in patience, understanding, and kindness, we must provide protection and basic care, no matter what happened at work, with our spouse, or at the dentist's office. At times, if we are to survive, we must think clearly and act decisively, no matter how distressed or depressed we are. It is because the King of Cups is ultimately willing to sacrifice his feelings and dreams for the general good that he is a fit ruler to take action in the kingdom of the temporal world. Comments on that? Well, it's deep. I don't know if you took anything out of it.
Well, no, the subjugating himself to the will of the larger good, that was pretty strong.
Yeah, I'm always going to see the schizophrenic there now.
Always looking up. It's like,
I commented that this card is actually about living in Brazil right now, like trying to remain a sane mind while in madness.
I'm sure it must be really, really tough. I mean, it's been tough for all of us, of course, but in Brazil and India right now, it's just I can't imagine what it must be like.
I went away and I got the King of Cups from the Golden as well, with then my King of Cups too. If we get to a point you want another image.
Okay, well, yeah, fine. If you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine. We're gonna wrap up in 20 minutes. So
yep.
Let me get rid of this. Okay, there you go.
More for the Golden, and mine is continuing the emanations, and the Queen of Cups then arises out of the strength of his bicep in his action, but the same 4-footed cup in the Golden Tarot. You get the crab at the bottom left. There's some kind of water ship sailboat in the background. There seems to be a dove or a flying, some kind of bird up above his head on the left.
It's a ship.
Oh, that's a sail on the, okay. So you have the sail up going, and actually the sail up going to the left, which is the unconscious. And then on the right, the sail is just rolled up and they're sitting still.
Yeah.
Is there an arrow in his
I was
hand?
just going to say,
Yes.
as an arrow. That's.
And his finger is pointing at the cup. He's like holding the arrow and pointing at the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Or pointing down at least. And he's looking at the ship. Wow, he's doing a lot of things. There's a lot of much more motion than the Queen of Cups, I think.
And he seems to be emerging from the cloak. I mean, as if the cloak is an eggshell.
Yeah, I do like in your card during the the idea of the queen emerging from his control of the emotion. And
Thank you.
That's a very interesting idea because
Yeah.
I think it's
Heart in
stabilized.
action. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Skip. The heart in action, where it's the heart of the matter is what's driving the motion. Is that what you're driving at?
well, no, there's this old saw about someone's shadow. If if you walk away from the shadow, she will follow. But if you walk toward your shadow, she will fly. And so, women are often reticent and unsure of themselves, I would say. Lots of women are withdrawing. Even my mother-in-law, who's 90, she'd just as soon if she didn't cause a ripple on the planet in her lifetime. She's so withdrawn that, and maybe she was better back at a time when her husband was still alive, but long before, because he had Parkinson's disease, and so she had to care for him for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And so, but their mature life together, she must have been more active, but she just withdrew into herself after his death, and she was a lifelong librarian, but he brought her out, at least to the point that she had 2 children, one of whom I'm married to.
Nice.
And Debbie is the Queen of Swords, not the Queen of Cups.
Okay. So no BS, and yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's much more comfortable for me being soul.
Well, and in my card there too, I mean, the cup, the gold cup, then I also have the gold in his cerebellum, the back of his head. So the connection of the innate inner forces that drive the motion from the very, very base are the same as the sun in the background, way back in the distance, and the cup, and that 1, 2, 3 of all those unified in the heart of the matter, moving the action.
Well, my basic thought here is that if the king provides the protection, then the queen can emerge. Whereas if he doesn't, then you can't even see the queen. So, for example, in Saudi Arabia or in the Arab world, as I've been watching Lawrence of Arabia lately, there's not a single woman's line in that movie. And women do appear, but they appear as black draperies. And so they don't feel the confidence to emerge, to become what they can be. I mean, it's very gradually changing, but in Saudi Arabia, it's very slow. And so women do sometimes manage to express themselves. My favorite is a woman who wears an abaya that had on the back of it in sequins Mickey Mouse.
She's not messing around.
As in, this is Mickey Mouse. I'm sure almost none of the men would have gotten the joke, but when I was walking down the quay one day and saw that, there were 2 women ahead of me, and one of them was wearing this Mickey Mouse abaya. I just cracked up.
It was on the back though, right?
It was on the back of her abaya.
Yeah, so he's having to walk 1 pace behind her instead of her 10 paces behind him.
Well, there wasn't a man with it. It was two women that were together when I saw that. But
No, I mean the Mickey Mouse, the male, is behind her. He
Oh,
has
yes.
he's always one step behind her.
right. But I don't know. Does that resonate with any of the women? My thought about that. That the king, the king managing his emotions allows the queen to express her emotions. It's most often not the other way around, I think.
Yeah, I think that in Jordan's card, the good thing is that the king and the queen are related. And I don't see that in the other cards. I think that's a very interesting interpretation because I think the only way that the King of Cups is stable is through the Queen of Cups. I
Right.
think your idea of associating both in that manner is very smart because it stabilizes the King of Cups for me.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, because it felt to be graphically the penultimate way to handle it is to not, there seems to be, we've talked about facade and fake and some trickster stuff in the other cards. And I just looked at it and went, no, they're there and they're together. And I didn't want to imply at that point in the King of Cups, I didn't want to imply it. A king is not going to imply, he's going to state. And so I wanted the power of that, the union, because in a sense his arm out is the ground, and in that she then becomes the figure that rises from the ground. So there's a foundational aspect of his arm and his whole being, and then like Skip said, he's providing the protection, or hey, lay down some ground fire for me, babe, you know, kind of thing. And then she comes up.
Well, it's a
You know,
tantric
most relationships, don't you guys get shot at all the time? I mean, come on, babe, lay down some ground fire for me. You know, so
It's a tantric card. You created a tantric relationship.
well, exactly. And yeah, I appreciate you recognizing that, Raquel, because that it felt like there could not be a both and to make the gesture tell the story.
Okay, for our listening audience, though, let us make the point that all these cards represent parts of us that we must achieve in our lifetime. And so we have to become the king or queen, and including queen of all of them in order to be a whole person, in order to be a balanced person. And that's one of the things that we're talking about now, is the characteristics of a person who is manifesting the cups in this case, but we also manifest the other things, and we certainly don't want to be any one of them. We want to be balanced. And you know, the way I talk about what happened with my ex was that, you know, my protection of her was like porcelain, but she kept dripping things on the porcelain, and eventually the drip wore through. And, you know, so it wasn't like I had a short marriage the first time around. I had a long marriage and with 3 children. Finally, too much Queen of Cups, and it wore through, and maybe I wasn't thick enough porcelain on my cups function. That's a possibility, but
well, it sounds a lot like it sounds a lot like you were. It sounds a lot like it sounds like just feminine hedonism. I mean, no holds barred, no limits. She's just going to keep on going. once you started, the rocket's never going to stop, and the fuel supply is almost unlimited because it.
Yeah. Well,
From every time you've told that story, there feels to be not a right and wrong and who's right and wrong, but a point where, as you said, you couldn't stop, but she wouldn't stop. And
we could not stop.
Yeah.
We could not stop fighting, and the difference was that I realized that, and she did not.
right, she wouldn't. Yeah, she
Yeah.
just couldn't stop.
Yeah,
You wouldn't. Okay, I'm going to put it in the ground. I'm going to wreck it.
it's over. Yeah,
Not worth living. Wreck it, and
Yeah.
you know you can build another ship.
right.
That's why they have trees and stuff. I mean, so you can make another one. I mean,
Well,
I'm Norse. We wreck our ships all the time.
Well, let's put it this way. I have a favorite question that I ask in job interviews when I'm the interviewer. I always ask, what's the biggest mistake you ever made to somebody who's looking for a job with me? And the reason I ask that question is that if somebody gives me a little mistake, then I know that they're lying. If they give me a big mistake, then I understand that they're mature enough to recognize their mistake. And so for me, the largest mistake of my life was not being present during the upbringing of my daughters, during their growing up years. Which I recognize, and it's I ameliorated it as much as anyone ever does in those situations, because I made a conscientious effort to be with them regularly. And so nowadays, when I talk to my daughters, there's no sense that I was gone during those years for them. So I have a very close relationship with them, but it was still a loss. It was quite costly from an experiential point of view.
I really respect that question. That's a strong one, because it really gets at what's going on in terms of where somebody is.
Yeah, and of course, most people say, "Oh my God, how could I answer that question?" Because, and if they're not prepared for it, then they also have to think about it a little bit, and it's hard to answer extemporaneously. But in terms of telling you about the maturity of the individual that you're talking to, it's and the truthfulness of the person you're talking to. It's
How about if you heard something like, "I've made so many that's why I turned into a spiritual life."
Well, you know what David Bowie said.
Well,
about
then you
that,
wouldn't
Gilbert?
get hired by me, because I can't. I want you to do business. I don't want you to go be a tarot reading. I'm not hiring a tarot reader.
Well, you know what David Bowie said about that? He said, religion is for people who want to go to heaven and don't want to go to hell. Spirituality, or people who don't want to go to hell. Spirituality is for those of us who've already been there.
Yeah. Can I read this? This is really interesting, and it's a whole complete departure. But I always get the sense that the Crowley deck, since it was done at a specific time in order to break through into spiritual dimensions that were not necessarily part of the society at the time, it always has that element of transcendence and versus how to deal with right here on earth, bringing some form from the unconscious. It seems like their aim was to move across the space and time. So this is what they as a small version. I mean, there's 2 pages. I'm just going to read the analysis and description of the picture. The Knight of Cups embodies as the fiery realm of water in our search for transcendental experience, redemption, and mystical union with the source, the numinous. Or, however, the language tries to describe what cannot be described. This association often has a paradoxical effect at first glance, because the water representing the feminine realm of feelings does not always harmonize well with the fiery energy of the king. However, when the water moves on a higher level, as I was mentioning, the knight is carried upwards by the mighty wings of his spirit, and he enters into the eternal feminine with the eternal masculine. When he pours his ego as that which is to be transformed into the current of the higher self. Jung. Then the rays of the grail in his hand shine from the merging of the water with the flames. From the grail chalice, there emerges a crab, Cancer, the cardinal sign of water and symbol of inner absorption, which comes to the fore, entering into consciousness. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's really
It
cool.
starts, so they use here, instead of the outer reality of emotional life facing other things, they're using the inner lens to say that suddenly the inner absorption comes into the fore, entering consciousness in order to ever come out and realize anything else. That's what it's.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I did not say, I felt like you were narrating Giro's awesome interchange with his cat the whole time. I mean, this was the look at everything. I mean, that Gilda, you just made a little theater vignette of Giro and his cat, because that you have a great cat, I have to say. But that was just beautiful.
It's interesting because I heard the text, and it was such a beautiful text, and at the same time my cat was doing this love approach thing.
Yeah.
Looking for union between men.
That's what I'm saying. It was,
and
I paid tickets for I paid money for those tickets. That was beautiful.
Okay.
It's very universal, the thing.
Yeah.
Not
I'd
gender
like
related, not species related.
Yeah.
Right. No,
I'd like
she's
to
picking
wrap
up on it.
for the evening, but I do want to draw your attention to one thing that I finally found after 34 years of studying Jung, because it's in volume 18 of the collected works. So you have to be very dedicated to find it. And finally, I found it. So I'm going to give everybody a heads up that tomorrow I'm going to read it. And it is a speech that he gave in 1939 called The Symbolic Life. And it was a speech that he gave to a group of theologians on April the 5th, 1939. So about 5 months before the beginning of World War II in Europe. And it really talks about the significance of these symbols. And of course, we're all about symbols in the Tarot. So he gave it to the Guild of Pastoral Psychology in London in 1939. And so I'm going to read it tomorrow, and I'm also going to read the discussion, assuming my voice holds up. So it will be on the YouTube channel. And I'm not going to invite a panel for it. I'm just going to read through it, but it'll be there to hear. And I think it'll be useful to refer back to it next week if you're interested in doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
And
that's a good one.
And by the way, in the let's see, the
At what
Carl
time
Jung.
are you doing this?
Huh?
At what time are you doing this?
It's going to be catch as catch can whenever I think I have an hour because it's
Just reading it into your
it-
channel, you're saying.
yeah, it's 20 pages, and I'm going to do it in two goes. I'm going to
Oh.
do it the talk, and then I'm going to do the discussion, which is fascinating. And I'll just
So you're recording it, correct?
yes, I'm recording it, and I'll just read the last exchange in the discussion, keeping in mind the dates now. Mr. Hopkins made the comment to Jung, but it is the science of the 19th century. He was saying that you're stuck with the science of the 19th century, guys, to these theologians. And he says, so Hopkins says, but it is the science of the 19th century that the ordinary people have today. That is our problem. And Jung said, yes, you are up against it. It has filtered down into the lower strata of the population and has worked no end of evil. When the asses catch hold of science, that is awful. Those are the great mental epidemics of our time. They are all insane, the whole crowd. And
Prescient. I mean, prescient. I mean,
yeah, obviously was referring to the Nazis, but
Right.
But he couldn't do it explicitly. He was in London. He probably would have had.
But also in his practice, he wasn't really till later on validated that much. So that also show, he's skeptical towards the reception of such spiritual material.
Yeah, well, he was skeptical about.
science.
Yeah, he was skeptical about that throughout his life, and of course he was the son of a whole lineage of Calvinist pastors, so he didn't want to offend his own lineage that much, and so he left it for people like me to start bringing it out and showing what he was really talking about. And so that's
Hey,
what.
Thank you.
well, Skip, I would also, it seems this is the same thing came up this weekend, but in Ion paragraphs 276 through 279,
Mhm.
you might look at as almost like a footnote to that, because it feels like a preamble to him getting to that. Because when the one you're talking about in volume 18, he's not holding back. Now he's got his intensity. He's king of wands, and he's coming out blazing.
Yeah.
But 276 to 279 has kind
I'll
of
look at it.
preambly.
Yeah, but obviously Ion was written a decade later, at least a decade later.
Yeah, and watered down a bit. But that you're talking about there is that he was in power. I mean, he was not mincing words.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. And so anyway, I think it's significant, and I think it's significant about religion. And one of the things that he observes in this talk was that he only had 6 actual Catholics that were in his patient list, 6, and he had, a world of Protestant people struggling with their mental health. And then he said, then the Jews are the most neurotic of all, but and he had his reasons, which you can listen to in the talk.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So he had the 6 for every one that's
Right.
coming into the church. We're losing 6 from.
Right. But let me mention as a secret decoder ring that in the Carl Jung reading group Dropbox, which you should have access to, If you don't have access to it, and this goes for people on YouTube too, if you don't have access to it, write to skip.conover@gmail.com and I will give you access to it. And in there you will find the collected works of C.G. Jung, to include volume 18. And so it took me probably at least 20 years, no more than that, 25 years to even get a copy of volume 18. And finally, I got this, which is from India. It's a facsimile copy that came in 2 volumes. Volume 18 came in 2 volumes, and it's a facsimile copy of volume 18. I had to pay $100 for it on Amazon to get a hard copy, because I would like
So
to
they go
mark it
all
up.
the way to 18, because I think we have
And 20.
20, we have a lot of them there. And then there's also the book with the index that you can just look up a subject matter
Right,
and then trace it all along.
right. So
Well, they go to
volume
20.
volume 18 is the last substantive volume. Then there's one entire volume that's bibliography only. That's volume 19,
Oh,
and volume 20 is the index.
okay, we have volume 20 for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll
And-
look around.
And so those all volumes are available electronically in that Dropbox. If you're
Oh.
okay, if you don't have
Library of
access-
Alexandria, take a visit. Good read.
yeah, it's
It's really astounding. It is astounding. You can look up anything, UFOs, this, that, the other thing. He was just such a giant.
right. So if you want to find anything his writing, you can go to that index, volume 20, and do a word search on it.
Yeah, what was that?
You know, so that's what did Goethe say?
No, he says. It's like,
I don't want to read 18 volumes.
oh, okay, that's what you're saying. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't want these things shared? It's like,
No, thanks for stealing 2 years of my life.
I was gonna
Like-
say, yeah,
One download from the Dropbox. No, thank you very much.
it's,
Right.
It's like I'm postponing a lot of stuff, so collected works of C.G. Jung. It's one of those.
Well,
and if I
let-
download it, it would be.
Let me put it this way. The things to read really start with volume 5, okay? Because before that, he was just fiddling around with things like the occult phenomena. And actually that's in this volume 18 also, which that was his doctor's thesis when he was graduating from medical school, was the occult, where he called out his cousin who was doing fake readings,
Seance.
seances.
They were doing seance.
Yeah, but for volume 5, you need to read the audible.com version, which is called Psychology of the Unconscious. It's the original version of it, and it's available on audible.com called Psychology of the Unconscious. I've listened to that recording probably 6 or 7 times, and there's a later version of it that he updated, but I don't think that there's an audible version of that. So
Yeah, Audible is very helpful.
yeah, it's
'cause
very
you
helpful.
can put it, yeah, if it's on the phone or something, you can walk around and be doing stuff.
Yeah, thank God for that. And
Well-
I was walking dogs for 20 years, so I had lots of time, at least an hour a day.
so Skip, before you close it up with the idea of Jung coming at the false readings, let me share one more image that just in
Okay.
a vein of humor. Where I have this. There we go.
Tomorrow there's also the art class in the evening, correct?
Oh, yes. Tomorrow we have Colleen Kibert at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. California
Is
time.
Ferrer the next day?
And we have Jorge Ferrer on Wednesday about participation and the mystery.
You know, the thing about Kate Black's work is that she takes it from existing photographs. It's not an artist actually designing the symbology of a tarot display. She's taking it from existing art.
Not finding it.
What are you looking for?
Oh, there's a new cartoon that is basically Zoom meetings or a new seance. Because are you there? Are you there? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Are you there? Come in, please.
So Jordan, you know, don't you, that you're showing us all your pictures?
Yeah, no, I had to share the screen because this iPad is now officially full. So I tried to share the photo. So
Yeah.
fortunately, I don't have anything untoward, and I guess. But yeah, I can't share the picture. I just share the screen. So, but anyway, that's
Okay.
the gist of it. They have an old picture, like 1800s, a seance, and someone's in the waiting room. They've arrived, and someone says, "Are you there? Are you there? I can't hear you. I can't hear you."
Oh, that's funny.
And then the leader's like, "Oh, I know they're there." So,
Right.
So.
Okay. Well,
All right.
anyway, Jung had some fun with his niece or his cousin. I don't think she ever recovered from it. She died young.
She was kind of like,
Well, that sparked his interest to eventually
the drowning.
recognize when he went to medical school, when the opportunity showed up. This is what I want to study.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, she was kind of like James Joyce's daughter. I mean,
Well,
drowning where he swam.
Right. I want to thank all of our European participants, including Gero, of course, but Justin and Hannah are both talking about this program starting at 2 a.m. EU time. And, I apologize for that being the case, Justin and Hannah, but I can only do so much. I do aim, and Jordan helps me on Sunday mornings. We do one session that is aimed primarily at Europe, and it doesn't expect Americans to join us because it starts at 8 a.m. Hold on a second.
Yeah, we've tried, but 8 a.m. just doesn't work.
Yeah, it works in China and Asia and Europe, but it's mostly for other than the U.S.
Well, for a dream, because I have to write dreams, and so it kind of like.
Well, the
it's
thing
like a
is, my
bugle.
mom and pop
8
coffee shop
o'clock.
on the corner is not open on Sunday at all. So I'm like, I have to get up extra early and call for someone to deliver some breakfast sandwich and coffee because
Because you don't cook. So.
No. I decided to stop making coffee at home to support the mom and pop. And then they both had knee replacement surgery. So now they're closed on Sunday. So on Sunday, I'm like, where's my pusher?
Jordan, I don't know if I gave you this news, but our friend Vivian, I'll use her Western name.
Right.
Vivian was accepted at Pacifica Graduate Institute.
Sweet. Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? That's
amazing. She emailed me and asked if I would go over her paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me about a week to get to it. And then I go over it and I had like 47 comments and some of them were just commas. And she came back with, I didn't expect that. I'm like, well, is that okay? Did I go too? No, this is fine. So thank you for the news because I was working with her and then she had a great paper, I have to say. And
so for those of you who don't know, on Sunday mornings, I aim that session precisely at Beijing. And the reason is that Chinese people are not allowed to have YouTube, but they are allowed to go to Zoom sessions. And so
The live stream, right?
Wow.
This
Still?
woman, huh?
Mhm. Yeah, very
This
much
day and
so.
age?
Say it again.
In this age, they're still not allowed to use YouTube.
Yeah. And
Only live
so
stream, no recorded.
they're allowed to use Zoom because Zoom is a Chinese technology, believe it or not.
Oh,
And so
scary.
yeah, so when I did an interview with Hang Shen, who was a Jungian analyst in Macau. We had quite a number, a couple of hundred Chinese in that session, and a few of them have been following me on and off, and so I've been intentionally broadcasting for them for that hour, so that it will be 8 o'clock Sunday night. And the most loyal of those was Vivian. So
thank you, but I appreciate the news. That's wonderful, because she was kind of back and forth as to not sure if this is going to work, and so that's really good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. So now
I'm gonna have to send her an email and congratulate her.
And now she just has to get a visa.
shot.
The visa.
And a shot. She probably has to get a COVID situation going.
Yeah, I'm sure she does, but you know, it'll be good, and she deserves it, because she really deserves it, because she's a simultaneous translator into English, believe it or not, or into Chinese, from English into Chinese. So she's very capable person, and so.
Yeah, she commented on it. She said, "I hope my English. I apologize for my English. Your English is better than 90% of the people I know who speak English."
I think it's better than 99%.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I'm just going for commas and typos. I'm not going for syntax. I mean, she had a style even in her voice that was original and also clear.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's
peace,
awesome.
everyone. We're gonna sign off, but next week we'll do Starman and She-Wolf on the Court of Cups. So that'll be fun, and any others that you really want to talk about.
And I want to thank Giro for your cat tonight, because even that, just the gaze, that was so Queen and King of Cups. Yeah, right there.
He doesn't give up.
No.
He thinks I should go sleep.
It's time. It's time for him to be warm. You're his electric blanket.
I want to tuck in.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he as big as he looks? He looks large.
He's like 16 pounds.
I think it's a little bit of optical illusion, and he's big.
Okay.
And Hannah has made a suggestion. I recommend the reading of the papers of S. Robert Muradi, a Jungian analyst who incorporated mythology and Rumi's poetry in his papers. Very beautiful. And Justin says, regrettably, no.
How do you spell Muradi?
Moradi. And then Justin says, regrettably, I am clueless when it comes to Rumi, but I've read a bit of this and that Arab poetry in English translation, which I could read. I wish I could read the original language. I'm sure that's, I have the same feeling, Justin, and I have studied Arabic. So at some point I may have time to. I probably won't get to it this lifetime, but anyway, there's a man named Coleman Barks, B-A-R-K-S.
Oh, he's.
And so just don't overtalk me for a minute, Jordan, so I can spell this out. B-A-R-K-S, Coleman Barks. He is the translator of Rumi, or if not he is the translator of Rumi, let's put it that way, into English. And his work is wonderful, and it is available in the U.S. So
he came through Santa Fe and did his Rumi presentations like almost every other year, it
Mhm.
seemed, at one of the theaters there. And he's a presence and a force, but you want to know Rumi. Thank you for bringing him up.
Yeah.
He's a force.
Yeah, my favorite poem that he recited once was, I've been knocking on the door. It opens. I've been knocking from inside.
You gotta love that.
Yeah. All right. Peace, everyone. See you
All
next
right.
week or
Thank you.
tomorrow, whichever you